Laser sights will make you a more accurate and confident shooter by providing visual feedback on sight alignment and trigger control. Crimson Trace, making laser sight standard equipment. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, welcome back to Gun Talk. Tom Gresham here. Obviously, there's just a ton of conversation this week about, really in the wake of the attack, the shootings in Las Vegas, and people getting polarized and going to their corners, as people say. Unbelievable amount of misinformation being presented as fact, which always is frustrating to me. I was able to watch Meet the Press this morning, watching my Congressman Steve Scalise on there, did a fabulous job, and we're incredibly fortunate to have the majority whip from the U.S. House of Representatives, and of course the man who was shot during an assassination attack in our attempt in Washington, D.C. Joining me right now is Congressman Steve Scalise. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Hey, Tom, great to be with you.
Well, good to be with you. People should know, we're actually only about 30 miles apart. You're on the other side of the Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah, both right outside of suburbs of New Orleans. So,
exactly.
Hopefully everybody made it okay. I know folks in Biloxi got hit hard yesterday, so we're thinking about them.
They did. We were all hunkered down, and then, Nate took a turn, and we're okay. But, that's one of those deals you always hate because you think, well, boy, I'm glad that we're okay, but that means somebody else got hit.
Yeah, well,
it just is tough. So, yeah. I'm watching your interview with Chuck Todd this morning, and it was amazing. He tried to trip you up on a couple of things, and you were so good, not just talking about, and I know the media wants you because you got shot in this attack to be anti-gun, and you were so good at presenting the information and presenting the history of the Second Amendment, and just, every time you did a great job. And I kept thinking, how did you get to this point? How did you get all of this knowledge? How did you get there, Congressman?
Well, I've had a deep-rooted philosophy, and that's very conservative going back to my days as a student at LSU when Ronald Reagan was president. He really inspired me to get more involved in government. And, and as I learn more about government, you study the history of the country. Our founding fathers, just incredible men who took incredible sacrifice and risk. But they wrote a lot about what they wanted America to be. And they first of all, they all had a deep belief in God, and they founded America as a nation founded under God. This idea that there's a separation of church and state. There's no national religion, but our founding fathers deeply believed in God, and they deeply believed in our right to have arms to defend ourselves. And it was really something they didn't put in the Constitution because they didn't think they needed to. But ultimately, as they saw threats, they later said, look, let's establish this as a guaranteed right in the Bill of Rights, and that's how the Second Amendment came to be. And so I studied this over the years. I had a landmark piece of gun legislation when I was a state representative back in the 1990s when cities started to try to sue gun makers and try to take away the rights of gun makers. And Charlton Heston actually was head of the NRA. He came to testify for my bill. It went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court and was upheld. And then later, after Katrina, we saw law enforcement officers. This was one of the most riveting, frightening things you can imagine. Law enforcement officers going door to door in the city of New Orleans in order to confiscate guns from law-abiding citizens in their homes, and they did it. And we caught them on it, and I ultimately filed legislation to prevent that from happening again, and then the federal government put legislation forward. So I've seen abuses of the Second Amendment over the years, but also understand the deep-rooted history.
Obviously, you've been interviewed some now after. And by the way, I know we should get this out of the way. I talked to you earlier, but how are you doing? Tell people how you're doing now.
I'm doing well, and I'm very lucky to be alive. I had so many people from all around the country praying for me. Those prayers meant just an unbelievable amount to me and my family, and so thank you and all the people across the country who are listening who helped pray for me. And God really did intervene from the moment I was shot to so many of the miracles that happened that got me to be alive. So I appreciate that. I'm still recovering, but able to get back to work finally, which I really enjoy doing.
And, of course, you had two good people with guns who stopped this. I mean, this guy was going to kill everybody there, wasn't he?
He came out with an intention of killing everybody, and he had the arsenal to do it. And if not for the two law enforcement agents that are part of my detail, David Bailey and Crystal Griner, immediately engaging the suspect with their guns. And by the way, they didn't have even anywhere near the artillery that he had, but they had tremendous skill and professionalism. And because of that training and desire, they stopped him from, number one, from being able to shoot at more people, but ultimately helped bring him down.
All right, Steve, you know what's going on. You know, the media figures, okay, you're going to be the next Gabby Giffords, and you're going to be coming out for gun control and restrictions on gun owners because of this. And it looks to me like they are shocked when you don't play to their tune.
Yeah, and, and I think there was an initial thought that somehow that, they would be able to see some conversion, and I'd want to have gun control measures that don't already exist. And every time they say we need to have a national conversation and why don't we put these laws on the books, there are already a large slew of laws that are on the books that control and regulate the ability for law-abiding citizens to have guns. And, and even criminals who would try to get guns. What I pointed out to Chuck Todd and so many others is the vast majority of crimes committed by guns today are committed by people who stole the gun, who broke the laws that are already on the books. If we focus on actually enforcing the laws, and also one of the things I told them is we've seen a lot of the people that commit a lot of these big gun crimes have mental health issues, and our country was not doing an adequate job of addressing mental health problems. We passed a sweeping bill last year, very bipartisan, that's in law now. It's just being implemented. Why don't we focus on implementing that right as opposed to every time there's a shooting? What angers me is when you see, before we even know any of the facts about a shooting, you see a slew of members of Congress and Senate running to the cameras and saying, okay, I've got some magical gun control bill that's going to solve all this from happening again. And usually, once the facts come out, that bill has absolutely nothing to do with the shooting, but it has more to do with taking away your rights as a law-abiding gun owner. And that's really what should be scrutinized. Why don't we focus our energy in the first days on praying for the victims, helping the victims, donating blood, whatever it takes, as opposed to, hey, this guy's got a gun control agenda, and he sees the shooting as an opportunity to go get attention for that.
Well, I'm certainly with you there. I mean, is anything going to come of this? I know that the Democrats, they were pulling out their old gun control bills. I swear, I think it was while people were still bleeding in Las Vegas.
Well, you did have people fighting for their lives while there were people in Washington trying to say, hey, here's a bill of mine. We ought to pass this, as if it would stop what happened. And then you look at the bill, and it had absolutely nothing to do with this latest shooter. So why don't we actually focus, again, on enforcing existing laws? But, this idea that more gun control, more, taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens is not the answer. So, and Nancy Pelosi said it, I think, the most articulately from her perspective. There is a vast gun control crowd in Congress in the minority. And she said, the reporter asked her, isn't this a slippery slope if you start going down the road of gun control? And she said, I hope it is. She wants it to be a slippery slope. And there are a lot of others up there like her that want to go even further. They want to have lists of gun owners, and they ultimately want to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to have a gun in their private possession, and that's really the affront to the Second Amendment that we've got to stop.
Steve, I cannot tell you how proud I am to have you as my congressman, and more than that, how happy I am that you're doing better. We have a very good mutual friend who helps put us together, and I am one of a lot of people who prayed for you, my friend. Well, thank you. I know, and I'll mention him by name. Dan Zolankas is one of the smartest people, and in terms of the history of the Second Amendment, has been incredibly helpful at leading the effort to make sure that people have the facts out there, because there's so many people that, look, let's talk about bump stocks, and I mentioned this to Chuck Todd. A week ago, most Americans, a lot of your listeners may have understood it better, but most Americans, including myself, never even heard of a bump stock. And all of a sudden, they've got some magic unicorn bill that's going to prevent future shootings.
let's be honest about this. I mean, there is no panacea that's going to stop the next person. Number one, you need to make sure you're enforcing existing laws and keeping guns out of the hands of criminals. But this idea that more gun control for law-abiding citizens is going to stop something from happening again is just not. It's not sincere.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to let you get back with your family. I know you're home for a few days here. Rest up and work on that pitching arm, man. That thing looked pretty good when you threw out that pitch.
Yeah, I think some of those pro scouts were out there with their radars. We'll see what happens. That was fun. A lot of fun.
I love it. Next time you're in town, let's get together.
Stay active.
All right. Thank you so much, Congressman. All right. Yeah, our mutual friend Dan Zelink is also the president of the Louisiana Shooters Association, and he's right. I hate to admit it because Dan would get a real big head, but he is one of the smartest guys I know. And he just sighted in a rifle for me. Camp Perry shooter. Good guy to have around. 866 Talk Gun. All right. Just how impressive is Congressman Steve Scalise? This is Gun Talk.
Every crossbreed holster is handmade based on the design invented by our founder. A Kydex pocket molded around your gun for perfect retention. Leather backing for comfort. Specially designed clips allow you to tuck in your shirt for complete concealment. The highest quality mag carriers and belts sturdy enough to hold any gun. Our holsters come with a lifetime warranty and 2-week try-it-free guarantee. Crossbreed. Conceal and carry the cross. CrossbreedHolsters.com.
For more than 70 years, Timney Triggers has been enhancing the shooter's experience. Whether it's a local competition, a day at the range, or even the hunt of a lifetime. Setting the standard in aftermarket triggers, Timney is now producing more than 170 models of triggers for bolt-action rifles, shotguns, AR rifles, and semi-automatic rifles. Proudly made in the USA since 1946. Find your new trigger at TimneyTriggers.com.
The pistol that redefines pocket carry just got even better. The Ruger LCP-2 has improved sights, an easy-to-rack slide, a larger textured grip surface for a secure grip and recoil reduction, and a short, crisp, single-action trigger pull for real-world accuracy. It's so small and light that there's no reason to ever leave home without your LCP-2. A serious pistol in a pint-sized package. Learn more about the LCP-2 at Ruger.com.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at ShopGunTalk.com. Get prepared. ShopGunTalk.com.
Nosler has been a leader in bullets and ammunition for decades and keeps growing with new product introductions that follow this tradition. Accurate, highly effective bullets and ammo for long-range shooting, precision rifle competition, and big game hunting. To be the first to hear about new product releases and promotions, follow Nosler on Facebook and Instagram and become part of the conversation. You won't settle, and neither will we. Nosler.com.
All right. Well, if you want to talk about this, we can. But we're going to move on to talk about what we always talk about: the responsible use of guns, hunting, collecting, target shooting, self-defense. Just got through we finished up shooting 8 new episodes for First Person Defender. Holy cow! Once again, pointing out that a lot of people who think they know a lot about self-defense with guns, you put them in the situation and it doesn't take much to get them to crumble or to make bad decisions. We had one guy, a lot of military background, a lot of military experience, home invasion kind of a deal we set up for him. He gets the guy, runs him out of the house, and then our good guy chases him through the yard and down the street with a gun. Holy cow, I'm glad we had a real police officer out there with his unit to make sure that nobody comes by and sees a guy chasing somebody else with a gun down there while we're filming this for our video production. Yeah, chasing them down the street in your neighborhood with a gun, and the cops roll up, who do you think they're going to think is a bad guy? Oh, man. Let's go to line one. Ken's with us out of Mississippi with a range report for us. Ken, what have you been shooting, man?
I've been shooting a 6.8 in an AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
I recently have acquired a suppressor, and I quite often hunt with the suppressor, but not always. Problem with it is it changes point of impact with the scope.
Yes.
So I found a solution to it is an ATN Excite 2. And this sight not only has night vision incorporated into it. It can be used during the day. But also it has several user profiles in it. And you can set up for 6 different profiles. You can set up for different loads, or you can transport the sight to a different rifle or something like that.
I think I see where you're going. You set that up for point of impact with and without suppressor. Is that what you did?
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
It is a tack driver. And
that is so cool. What a great use of the technology. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, a buddy of mine is a fabricator, and he had one in the shop one day. He said, "You've got to see this." Also, that particular site will port through Wi-Fi to a cell phone or something like that, maybe an iPad. And if you've got a young shooter or something like that you want to make sure that he's on target, you can dial in and see exactly what he's seeing through the scope. And that might be helpful too.
It is, and we've used the ATN scopes a lot. In fact, if you go to a store and look at the kiosk for ATN scopes, thermal, and night imaging stuff, a lot of the video in those kiosks, we shot it for them. We've been using these things for years. And you're right, you can use them during the daytime, you can use them at night, you can output video from them, you put in these different profiles. But I have to tell you, Ken, I had not thought of the idea of setting it up for the shift in point of impact between suppressor and not suppressor. Now, how repeatable is it when you put the suppressor on and take it off?
100%. Within, of course, my gun is very accurate. It's got an 18-inch Bison Armory barrel, and it is a tack driver to begin with. But it is very, very repeatable.
How's the 6.8 work on hogs for you?
It's a hog hammer. I'm surprised.
Hog hammer.
More people aren't using it for hogs. I've used it on deer also. And it pretty much lays them down right there.
Wait, I just saw on Facebook this week that no one has ever used a semi-auto for hunting.
Really?
Don't you love it? Just going, what? What are you people talking about? Really?
I'm absolutely surprised. I use one all the time.
You didn't know you weren't using one.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to go back and reread the manual.
Well, that is a great range report. I love the ATN being able to use that. It's, for those who don't know, the crosshairs, the reticle is actually electronic in the scope, and that's why you can just shift it. In essence, you're moving the computer around, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's sweet. That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Great range report. Let's see here. Yeah, we got time. Let's get Jeremy in here from Shreveport on line 1. Hey, Jeremy, you got some thoughts on the whole shooter out there? I guess it's on line 2. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, your thoughts actually on it, because everybody's talking about the lone shooter and everything. First thing I clicked on whenever I went to search it is, multiple shooters, and it's it looks very authentic to me as far as one from, close to the ground floor around the 5th floor, 6th floor, and then where they was filming out of a taxi cab or something like that. And then another one from higher up, and it's just like two different videos, but it's like multiple shooters, and it shows another one in the crowd where he begins to crouch down. But, like, I was just wondering your thoughts on that. Like, I mean...
Sure. I've got thoughts on it. I don't believe any of it. I know it just really disappoints people who want it to be a conspiracy theory or a multiple shooters and all. Here's what I'll believe. When we get the official report, and because trust me, they have dozens, if not hundreds, of investigators from the local cops to the FBI, and these are some pretty smart people. They're going to figure this thing out. Once they come out with it and they'll say, okay, we think there were other shooters, they'll tell us. If this was ISIS-inspired, ISIS, of course, has claimed responsibility for it. We have not heard of any evidence. They may have evidence, but we haven't heard of it yet. That could be true, and I wouldn't be surprised by that. If they say there were multiple shooters, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But at this point, I would encourage you and others to not get caught up in the, well, I saw this video, and it's clear to me that, yeah, no. It's like when we do the first-person defender shows, and that's not real gunfire, but it feels like it. It's ammunitions. And we ask them, well, what did you see? And it's always wrong. I mean, he's right in the middle of it, or she is. It's always wrong. Well, did you see the car peel out in the middle of the... No, I didn't see a car at all. This car peeled out and just burned rubber right in front of this woman, and we set that up, never saw it. So I would just encourage everybody just to slow down, let them do their work, let them get us the information, and they will, and we will get, we'll find out, what... As much as we can, we'll find out what really happened. There is the uncomfortable possibility that if this guy really was just by himself, it's possible we'll never know what went wrong with this guy. Could it have been the diazepam, whatever it was he was taking? Possibly. We actually had somebody call our show some years ago. A guy said, hey, his son was on that stuff, and he went crazy and killed his mother, the wife of the man who called us here. Some of that, whatever, psychotropic drugs, man, that stuff is bad, bad news. Don't know if that's it either. That's just another theory. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. When we come back, we'll be talking about gunpowder, something that we all use a lot of. There's more to it than you know. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
Gun Talk encourages you to support the local sporting goods store, gun stores, ATV dealers, and other local businesses in your area who advertise on this station and Gun Talk. Only together can we protect our rights. You're listening to Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All righty, back with the 866-TALK-GUN. We can't shoot our firearms without having gunpowder. Great new book just came out, The Gunpowder People. It's fascinating. It's the story of the Hodgdon Powder Company and the Hodgdon family. Let me read you before we get our guest in here. Jim Carmichael, of course, one of the best gun writers ever, said, if I had to name 5 fathers of hand loading, Bruce Hodgdon would be one of the 5. If it had not been for Bruce Hodgdon and the powder he brought to market inexpensively at the time, hand loading would never have taken off like it did. He says, if I remember correctly, it was about 50 cents a pound. He said, Bruce Hodgdon, Fred Huntington, Vernon Spear, Joyce Hardy, John Nosler, they all hit the ground at about the same time and made hand loading work. There's so much to the Hodgdon story that you don't know. This book is fascinating. Joining me right now, Chris Hodgdon joins us. Hey, Chris, this is a great book. I'm learning all the time as I go through it.
Hi, Tom. Great to talk to you this afternoon.
What do you think when you talk to people about the company? I mean, the company is the family is the company, but there's so much that has been done by the Hodgdon Powder Company through the years that people probably just take for granted that this stuff has always been around. I mean, like things like Pyrodex, for heaven's sakes. I mean, you guys brought that out back in 74, 76, something like that. It was crazy.
1976, yeah. And really, this book is first of all, it's about 199 pages, and this book is a real nice tabletop quality type book.
It is,
and it's really about, obviously, a tribute to my grandfather Bruce and his startup of the company from 1947, and it's about the enduring legacy of my uncle JB and my dad Bob, who have taken the company up to present times. From the 1970s, my granddad pretty much handed over the reins to them, and it really talks a lot about that, of course, and it features in-depth interviews with Dad and Uncle JB and other key employees who helped build the company, like our recently retired CEO Tom Shepard, and it really, the book gives insight on who Granddad Bruce was. And he was not only a genius entrepreneur, but he was an inventor. He taught hand loading to hundreds of thousands of folks. He lobbied Congress to change laws to make it easier to ship gunpowder by common carrier. Yes, that's one thing maybe a lot of people don't know, but
that's huge.
But really, he lobbied. It was the early '60s when he did that. He was really generous. He gave millions of dollars in real estate to start a nearby range, and he was a big time NRA supporter. Other pro Second Amendment organizations. It covers quite a bit of my Uncle JB and Dad's history. Like you said,
I want to get one thing in here. I want to, just so people understand kind of how it got started. After World War II, there was an awful lot of powder had been made, and all of a sudden, boom, the war's over, and there's all this powder. So I'm looking at this. In 1947, Bruce wins a bid to the U.S. government for 50,000 pounds of 48.95 surplus powder, the start of Hodgdon Powder Company. And then they had to figure out how we're going to package it, how we're going to do this whole thing. There were people getting bags of powder, and then at one point, if I remember right, wasn't it it looked like gallon milk jug kind of containers?
Well, yeah, it was, and he sold it in paper bags, and well, really, he what's interesting is that he bought this powder for 50,000 pounds for 3 cents a pound, and so what happened was when he bought the powder, he had 30 days to find a place to store it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, okay, I got to find a place to put 50,000 pounds of gunpowder. Fabulous.
and well, what he had to do is he had to go out. Of course, he went out around the countryside and he asked different farmers. And he asked one farmer for $50 a month, could I put it in your dairy barn? And of course, the farmer found out that it was gunpowder, and that was the end of that. So what he had to do, he purchased an old railroad boxcar. He leased a couple of acres of land for $110, and he was in business. And so, but you got to remember, back then the time was in 1947. Right. It was 40 cents an hour was the average person made. Right. $3,500 a year was a typical salary.
Oh, man. So hand loading was a way to save some money on your shooting, and that was really important. Yeah. Oh,
big time. From that point on, really in January '48, he put an ad in American Rifleman, and it said $48.95 to commercial reloaders and original GI containers, 150 pounds, only $30 freight on board.
I'll take some of that right now. Holy cow. Now, I want to fast forward. I mean, that's fabulous. I'm just looking at so people get kind of a sense. This is a great book, by the way. Kind of go through, Hodgdon clays introduced, Pyrex pellets introduced in 96. Let's see. Hodgdon acquires IMR in 2003. Hodgdon acquires GoX black powder at 2009. And you have just introduced all these great products through the years. You really have been, the whole company and the family has been in the lead. Honestly, I would say Hodgdon is hand loading, and hand loading is Hodgdon. The two are inextricably linked. And now you're celebrating your 70th anniversary, which, of course, is one of the reasons for this cool book.
Yes. And a couple employees came up to Dad and
and Uncle JB, and they said, you know what we ought to do is just capture the history of the company. And we really didn't know what to do. And so we turned to Jim Bequette, who was the longtime editor of Shooting Times. And Jim's written several other books, and he did a fabulous job. He really did a good job organizing it. We've got some wonderful old photographs in here, color and black and white.
And the old ads.
Family pictures. Yeah, old ads, too, yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, and one of the cool things, I think, Tom, was that Granddad, one of the big reasons why he was so successful, he did in the early years, he corresponded with some great gun writers of the day. And he knew the value of what they could do for us. Of course, there's some letters in here from Jack O'Connor, P.O. Ackley, Elmer Keith, Bill Jordan, George Nante Jr., Les Bowman, Dean Grinnell, Colonel Charles Askins, and many, many others. But like you were reading, you kind of stole my thunder. Jim Carmichael, he was just a fabulous friend, and he did a lot for us throughout the years, right for us. But Granddad was big friends with him, too.
Yeah, it is a great book. I would recommend it to anybody. How do people get a copy of The Gunpowder People? Well,
you can just go online to Hodgdon.com. It's $44.95, I believe, and that's postage paid. But it's a really nice book, like I said, to have on your tabletop and to scan through there. So I'd highly recommend it if you want to. It's also a good book about hand loading and hunting.
Exactly. If you like guns, if you want to know some history about this development, and you just like a good-looking book, I would recommend it, The Gunpowder People. Chris, thank you so much, and best to your family.
Thank you, Tom. You bet.
All right. Take care. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. It is open lines. If there's something on your mind, whether it's a range report or if you want to talk about Vegas, bump stocks, gun control, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, heck yes, we'll do all of it. 866-TALK-GUN.
Responsible owners control access to their firearms, even when they may need them in a hurry. Liberty Safe, the nation's leader in gun safes, offers 6 models of handgun vaults. Strong, simple to use, open with a key or fingerprint. Put your handgun in the compact vault, lock it away until you need it. Then it's in your hand almost instantly. Pick the Liberty Safe handgun vault that's right for you. LibertySafeHD.com.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Want your next gun purchase to be fast and hassle-free? Well, at galleryofguns.com, you can search through thousands of models from our huge firearms inventory. Find a great offer from a local dealer that includes all fees and taxes. And there's no need to arrange a transfer. Gallery of Guns takes a small deposit on your credit card, and your gun will be at your chosen dealer in as little as 48 hours. Plus, your gun will be covered by our guaranteed lifetime replacement warranty. Galleryofguns.com. Search, find, buy. It really is just that easy.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
In the war on terror, fighting crime in the streets, in competition and homes around the world, one name in firearms stands out: Sig Sauer. Our pistols and rifles are renowned for their unfailing performance. This same commitment to excellence can be found in our line of SIG-TAC accessories and the training offered by the Sig Sauer Academy. For unmatched quality, reliability, and innovation when it counts, choose Sig Sauer. Visit sigsauer.com today.
Colt National Match Ammunition, manufactured by Double Tap, is specially developed for performance and accuracy. Real match ammo, designed with competition power factors in mind. Colt National Match Ammunition by Double Tap Ammo. Available in stores now.
I think it's obvious that the Democrats are going to call for the banning of anything that lets a gun shoot faster than originally designed. So if it came with a crummy old military-style trigger, can't put a Geisley trigger in it, can't put a Timney trigger in it, can't have a better trigger in it, certainly can't put a binary trigger in it. And, of course, the whole bump stock is going to go to crank fire, going to go to everything else. Clearly, and you've probably seen the videos, missing the fact that you could do bump fire without a bump stock. You can do bump fire with a belt loop or any other way. And, of course, what they really want to do is get rid of semi-automatic firearms. But then, of course, that won't reduce crime. Again, well, that didn't work, so we have to, it's like putting a tourniquet around the neck. You know, it's not going to work until we choke the person to death. And that's the whole idea, is to choke out gun rights completely. Let's see, Doc's with us on line 1 out of Anderson, South Carolina. Doc, bump stocks, talk to me.
Hey, Tom. I got one of those butt stocks several years ago, and I tried to sell it and put ads on the radio, and nobody bought it. So I put it on the shelf, and now I want to tell you, I'm also a concealed carry gun owner. Right. Years ago, I called you and to get my first gun for self-protection. I now have 36 in a safe. And
now that's enabling right there.
Yeah, but the worst thing is, Tom, is I've been on Prozac for many, many years. And I have obstructive sleep apnea, and my pulmonologist, because of the sleep disorder, has me on meth and Valium.
That's okay. And, so you're not having any problems with that?
Well, I don't have any problems with it. I don't see why anybody, at one point, because I was professionally licensed, because I was on Prozac, they were talking about taking away professional licenses. But anyway, I just wanted to call in to say, ask you, how much should I ask for it?
Yeah, because right now bump stocks are sold out everywhere. You can't find them anywhere. So I think you probably can name your own price right now. On a bump stock you're trying to sell.
Option.
Put it. That's right.
Tom,
have a bidding war going. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate that. Let's see, Tim. Yes, we'll go to line 3. Tim's in Carson City, Nevada. Hey, Tim, you're on Gun Talk.
Yeah, hey, Tom. Hey, I saw Chuck Todd this morning, that same interview you were talking about, and he made that quick reference to when the point was brought up about how, hey, Chicago has highly restrictive gun legislation in place. And he said, and he just kind of dismissed that by saying, well, you can just go to Indiana and buy whatever you want, bring it back. And I think that's a talking point that's starting to try to creep into the liberal media, not realizing that, it has to be FSL to FSL is my understanding.
Well, more than that, Tim, let me just jump in because I got almost no time. I heard him say that, and the response to that is, so what you're saying is we go to areas that have free access to guns and have lower crime, and then we bring those same guns into Chicago, and we have higher crime. Don't you think the place where you went to get the guns, where they have more guns and it's easier to get a gun, by your logic, would have higher crime? But it doesn't work that way. So the availability of guns is not really the factor in the crime rate, is it? Hey, next hour we're going to be giving away stuff, or at least announcing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away a lot of cool stuff from Nosler, including Nosler Rifle. You're going to want to hear that one. So many things to talk about here. Question for you. Oh, yeah, by the way, I hope you're getting our newsletter. It's free. We send it out once a week. We're not going to bug you, just once a week. But we did put out something that John Farnham helped us with. Actually, he wrote it. It was all about being safe when you're out and about, things like avoiding crowds and things like that. So if you got it, please open it and read it. It's really good information for you and your family. If you didn't, then you need to sign up for our newsletter. Just go to guntalk.com. You can do it there. Case in point, I have talked about this in the past. You need to take a trauma class. Usually it's a half day or a 1 day, using tourniquets, airways, things like that. And then carry a tourniquet's a little bitty thing. That's one of the reasons I wear rather tactical or cargo pants with the big pockets. I can carry a little tourniquet in there, a little package of hemostatic agent, basically, oh shoot, I can probably reach. This is how close they are. Listen to this. I will reach over, pick it up, my tourniquet. This one is Celex Rapid. It's a hemostatic Z-fold gauze ribbon, it says. People were, in fact, I tell you what, let's talk to somebody who's talking about that exactly. Line 2, Calvin, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Calvin, you were thinking about the people who were rendering first aid in Vegas.
Yes, I cannot be complimentary enough to the average citizens that rendered first aid in a matter of seconds. What concerns me is out of 22,000 attending the show, there had to have been at least 1,000 licensed to carry, but they were rendered helpless by the laws that we have that are over-regulated and too strong on gun control. They were not allowed to have their weapons with them.
Let me jump in, because they could not have turned around and fired at the Mandalay Bay hotel building. I mean, there's no way that somebody with a handgun that's 300 yards away, you see a window up there, you can't just start shooting at the side of the building and having your bullets going through windows of other people's rooms. That's a non-starter.
Yeah, I can see that. If they, I've heard it was 300 to 400 yards. Some of if there were good shots, and a lot of licensed carry are extremely good shots, they could keep him ducking instead of continue firing. Except that
here's the thing: we don't get to do that.
I know.
If you're shooting at him, you're hitting other people's rooms. We can't do that. We're the good guys. We don't get to just fling bullets out there, and if they hit somebody, oh, too bad. That's bad guys do that, but we don't get to do that. So, trust me, that's the first thing I thought of was, wow, could somebody have returned fire? And then you look at it and go, yeah, actually, no, not in this situation. You can't responsibly turn around and just shoot at the side of a building, which is what they would have been doing, with their bullets flipping through, going through windows, and who knows what it hit. So I understand, and I share your utter frustration at the whole thing. And look, I thank you for your call. Here's a question for you. Do you think that at these outdoor events like this, we're going to see the police, or maybe even the event organizer, positioning counter snipers with Overwatch? We have 2 or 3 people up there with rifles on bipods in communication and looking at everybody. Here's the other question. This is a serious one. Are you done going to big events like this, where they can drive trucks through? You know, he tried to set off a big tank of aviation fuel so he'd blow it up in the middle of all this. I don't know if you've heard that one, but that is not theory. That is actual fact. Fortunately, I think he hit the tank. I think it was Jet A. You can't really set off Jet A with a regular bullet. It's diesel. It's not as flammable as gasoline. But that was part of the plan. So, question on the floor. Are you done going to big events? Or are you going to say, nope, I'm not going to let them change my behavior? 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. I'm Tom Gresham. We do want to talk about this. We'll be right back.